The Zendyne Hospitality Cloud is an integrated technology platform driving marketing and sales performance in more than 30,000 hotels around the globe. The award-winning CRM suite integrates with hundreds of technology platforms to capture intent, preferences, past behavior, and satisfaction for every guest. Learn more at Zendyne.com. That's CENDYN.com.
Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is the show where we tackle your most pressing issues to bring your business more wins. Keeping up with technology is challenging. Our experts are here to help you figure it all out. Here's your hosts, Glenn Hausman and Estella Hale.
Hey everybody, Glenn Hausman here, your co-host for the Hotel Tech Podcast, and I'm excited today because we're going to be talking all about loyalty. How do you drive guests to come to your hotels through technology and loyalty programs, especially if you're not creating your own one? What if you're working with lots of different hotel brands? That's what we're going to be talking today, but before we get started, I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce my incredible co-host, the wonderful, incredible, fantastic, amazing Estella Hale, Chief Product Evangelist with SHR, and of course, you know that stands for Scepter Hospitality Resources, one of the top tech minds in our incredible industry, and someone who puts up with me every single episode of the show. Estella, how are you today?
I am great. I don't know how anyone can respond to that, Glenn, by the way. So, wow, you said that really high.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Estella, I really like to throw out the superlatives over there just to get you off your game, because if I freak you out enough, I know that I'll sound better than you, which I can never do. So what are you going to do? I got to be a little selfish.
I don't know about that, but like you, I am very, very excited about today's topic. I think loyalty or recognition of a guest or recognition of that best guest is something in the mind of all hoteliers. And we have seen that even in some studies that came out late last year, that CRM, loyalty, and RMS were going to be some of the most sought out technologies this year. But as always, we approach this podcast and we approach this show with first looking at what is the business or operational pain that technology is solving, and then dive into the technology. So I'm excited about the topic and our guests.
Yeah, I am too. And then today we're going to be talking with Ryan MacDonald, who's the VP of Revenue Management and E-commerce for Palm Holdings. Now, Palm Holdings is an interesting company because they're all about acquiring hotels and then creating value by renovating them, repositioning them, and thinking about a longer-term investment outlook. So not only do they have Palm Hospitality, which is their hotel management company that's approved with all the major brands, and they operate hotels under the flags of IHG, Marriott, Choice, and Radisson, but they also have a construction division and then a real estate investment vehicle called Palm Ventures. But for today, we're going to be focusing on Palm Holdings and Palm Hospitality with Mr. Ryan MacDonald. Ryan, how are you? And welcome to the Hotel Tech Show.
Awesome. Great, Glenn. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you too, because this is going to be great. So you're charged with, you're charged with the task of as Vice President of Revenue Management and E-commerce. So you spend your whole life relying on technology, your gut, and the ephemeral sense of loyalty in order to drive people to your respective branded hotels. And again, for those of you who weren't quite listening, they've got brands such as IHG, Marriott, Choice, and Radisson. So I got to tell you, Ryan, you've got to wear a lot of different hats at once. How do you do it without going nutty, crazy, cuckoo?
A lot of coffee and no sleep. That's pretty much the secret recipe for anybody in revenue.
Sounds like an easy job. All right. So, how long have you had the position as revenue management? And I ask because revenue management seems to really be a relatively new title when we're thinking about industry titles on the scene in the last 5-10 years or so.
I've been in revenue management since 2007.
Ooh, an early starter.
2006-ish.
Look at you.
Early starts.
Yeah.
I always had an attraction to numbers.
Numbers have already freaked me out. All right, so that's pretty cool. So you've had a lot of experience in it. So maybe give us a quick understanding of how technology has changed and what, in general senses, it's allowing you to do before we start getting together with the nitty-gritty of what you're able to do today and hopefully into tomorrow.
So what technology is allowing us to do nowadays is reach is to get in front of an entirely different demographic than we were able to in the past to convert them over to loyalty members.
Right.
Now that, we have a lot of millennials that are now being the core base of our corporate travel that's coming in, we have to think of different ways that we can use technology to get in front of them that hotels normally didn't think of in the past. Instagram, text messaging, etc. With the new advances in technology, it's allowing us to be more versatile and to reach a larger demographic base.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Estella?
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting because understanding not only the context in which you're going to approach them, but kind of what the new loyalty looks like that can be across brands, and applying what you learn from one property to another must be very interesting. But as always, the challenge is, how do you apply a principle when the systems and integrations look very different? Ryan, is that something you encounter?
We do encounter that quite a bit. It is definitely easier with certain brands to implement different marketing tools or CRM databases to help you reach that demographic as compared to other brands. That happens on a daily basis, Stella.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we see that with independents as well. Here at SHR, we power distribution and CRM as well for independent hotels. And one of the advantages, if you will, for independents is that they can be very, very flexible. They can be very flexible into how they tailor the reach based on spend or stay or points. How do you navigate this being so really having to tailor into the different programs for your different properties, but at the same time having one mindset of how you apply your distribution and loyalty strategy throughout your properties?
Yeah, that has been an ongoing challenge with us probably for the past 18 months. Again, working with, like you said, all the different brands, we just can't do a layered cookie cutter, one solution fits all mentality. And then when you're looking at the brand loyalty programs, because they're already established, there's only so much that we can do as an additional value offer or additional promotion to really attract that additional loyalty customer. The way we look at it as having all branded properties is that the loyalty program is actually like a cost of acquisition of us to get the guests in the front door. And then once they're in the front door, it's what our line staff do every day at the hotel that solidifies converting them over to a loyal brand member.
Right. And we talk about that all the time, about how you got to do that handoff to your team. But if you want to hear all about how to make your team freaking awesome, listen to some of the other podcasts here on the No Vacancy Network. But today we got to focus on that tech element of it. So, Ryan, I got to ask you, man, it sounds like it's a little bit of a challenge to do all these different things. Are you always doing different things, or are you able to take, best solutions from certain brands and then apply them to others? Or are you just kind of locked into different mindsets when creating, when you're creating a loyalty factor, a way to get people to come into each of your other hotel brands? Sorry, I was a little clunky there.
No worries. So some of the brands, yes, we can actually do the same program across multiple brands, which is great because they either have the same PMS system or they're used to working with the booking engine type for certain brands. And then other brands we have, because they have proprietary PMS systems, it's really hard for us to get that same, like e-blast program we use or a text messaging program to get in front of those millennials that we can use that we can't connect to with certain brands. So for those, we really have to rely on the brand to make sure we get the message out there and opting into all the brand, tech things, making sure we're listed on all the apps, that we have the most up-to-date software in the hotels so the members can use their app to check into their room or check out early or things like that.
I think that's key, Glenn. So Ryan, if I may, I'm going to continue building into the point that you're making. And number one, having the point of view that guest acquisition can be seen as a cost of distribution, just as cost of distributions are had through other more expensive channels. Number one, and having that concept throughout the properties, regardless of the flag outside. If you have that mindset, and then you have the mindset of reaching your guest across context and across whatever they're more comfortable using, then you deploy or request the technology that allows you to implement those operational practices. Like you say, if they're allowed to do mobile check-in and that's something that they prefer, making sure that your properties have that. Another concept, Ryan, which we're exploring here at SHR with our CRM is really enabling the distribution and the digital marketing team to explore successive campaigns, not necessarily based on number of clicks, number of opens, or number of reservations to a particular promotion, but identifying elements such as the recency of someone's stay, the monetary spend, the holistic spend, and being able to shift maybe guests from a more expensive channel to a cheaper channel. We're starting to play, or we believe that some of those metrics will become important in addition to the ones that exist today. Of course, you need to show the success of your campaign. Is that something that resonates? Does that resonate with you as a hotelier, the ability to track campaigns in a way that you could reflect a shift of channels or something similar?
Oh, absolutely. And we do that for all of our IHG properties. Mm-hmm. So we do use an email marketing program. So it tracks all the campaigns. It tracks the opens, the clicks, the forwards. Mm-hmm. And by us starting to do our own email campaign, and every campaign, the one constant message that we remind people of is that if they become a loyalty member, they can save X number of % off all their bookings moving forward. We've actually seen a shift from third-party bookings over the past 24 months by implementing this back in 2017. Any data that we can gather on our guests to determine spending patterns, how far they book out, anything like that at all is gold mine nuggets for a hotelier, especially like you said, trying to get them to shift to those more profitable channels off of potential third parties.
That's interesting. Operationally speaking, by giving customers a little bit of a discount, you're probably still clearing a higher threshold of profitability by shifting them from the OTA to that direct booking challenge. So as an example for our listeners out there, if you were paying 20% to an OTA, but now you're giving through an email campaign a 10% discount, you're still able to pocket an extra 10%, put 10% towards goodwill with the customer. And it sounds like that's a real win-win for everybody.
Oh, it is 100%. And that's, you basically just summed it up there in a nutshell. Like, because of the commissions you pay to the OTAs and then everything else you pay on top of that to them, when you do a promotion in-house, you can give up to an X amount of percentage to get that guest to book with you direct, and you're still getting a better profit to your bottom line. Right.
Well, and you're increasing that brand love, if you will, or that brand recognition. So in addition to hitting directly your distribution costs, you basically are saying, I know who you are, and I am bringing you something relevant.
Exactly, correct. And then it also gets in the mindset to get them to book brand direct because they know there's always going to be a better deal. And again, just the difference in the booking procedure.
Running your hotel shouldn't be a pain. Apaleo's API-first PMS connects all the technology that you could ever dream of at a click of a button. An award-winning solution which lets you customize your entire technology stack so it works for your business. From running a completely staffless hotel to limited service chains to 5-star resorts and everything in between. Learn more at apaleo.com, APALEO.com. Ryan, let's forget for a second the brand element of it. You're still trying to drive loyalty back to that individual hotel, and you're doing these mailings. People want mailings, emails that are going to relate to exactly themselves and their lifestyles. Of course, I'm talking about the notion of personalization. How far are you able to drill down today to create offers that are highly personalized or aspire to be highly personalized? And where do you think you could go in the future as technology kind of catches up to your vision?
So what we do, so we have obviously different segmentation in the hotel. We can look at if they booked under a discount rate last time, if they booked retail, how long they were in, how far they booked out, even to obviously the dates that they stayed. So when we're retargeting those guests, if we have that backup history to know that, John Smith comes every July for 7 days, when we send out our newsletter, we list all the great events that are happening in around that hotel in July. So that's one segment we can send out. If we see that another guest came in while they were there, they purchased Disney tickets or tickets to a show. And then when they get included in that offer, we personalize that with different show attractions that are happening. So we are getting a little bit more granular. It is still a lot of manual effort to go in to pull all this information. So if there was some sort of amazing system that we could install that would start segregating all this data for us, that would be a huge win for the industry.
I agree. I think a path or the bridge to get to personalization is to first begin with micro segmentation. So very, very much what Ryan was talking about. Understanding behavior that happened in-house and ideally flagging a particular experience that delighted a customer while in-house you can then evoke that in your next campaign. But whether they stayed on a particular time or spent a particular spend or it reached a particular attraction, then we start looking on the technology side of what connectivity or ability do we have to bring that level of granular detail into the CRM, created part of that micro segmentation of guests, maybe not individual profile, because then, it is still quite complex, or a lot of people get listed out if you do it to the individual profile, but maybe a micro segment profile with certain preferences of experiences within house and the ability to tailor those campaigns. So on that side, I think that's where AI and data science and applying algorithms that can detect the view of holistically of a guest, regardless of the channel where they booked, but the tendency that guest has, and then being able to recognize whether they belong to that micro segment, and then at one point, whether they belong to that exact same profile, and then have that drive campaigns. So just like AI today drives much of the revenue management decisions on pricing recommendation, even if the human intelligence then accepts it, applying that same context, but into campaigns where data science and an algorithm can make, just as again on the RMS, it makes a pricing recommendation. It can make a campaign recommendation based on behavior of the guest on the booking engine, on your website, in property. And then again, you apply the human intelligence to say, I'm going to send this campaign to this microsegment.
Yeah, once you guys get that developed, let me know. Send me an email, and we will get that implemented right away.
That's great. So, all right, Ryan, let me ask you this question then. Since you're dealing with guests that are staying with you in different brands, are you able to glean insights from a guest that stays at IHG and then take that information and say, oh, you're going to be in a city where we happen to have that Radisson property, or you're going to be we think you might want to go to a city that we have that Choice Hotel branded property, and then develop offers to them that are cross brands? Or is that something that you're just not thinking of, or whatever the legality of it is, aren't unable to do that? So
there are some legalities in with what we do with that guest information and how we're able to promote it across our various brands. It's funny you mentioned it is on our roadmap for 2020 to see, again, like exactly like you said, are we able to cross promote that guest who's staying at one of our Holiday Inns that's in the same city that we own the Radisson? Can we send out something from Palm Holdings as an entity with all of our hotels to showcase what we have, rather than sending out an e-blast from one of the specific hotels just generalized for that property?
Right.
So
and
that's something we're working with.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Ryan, because, who owns that information? And I think we're finally at the point in history now where that starts to become extremely relevant, because you own, your company owns or operates that hotel. Therefore, you should have access to do with whatever you want with that information, simply by the fact that that person's signing on the dotted line when they stay with you. But the brands themselves may not necessarily agree to you if you're trying to sell them at another hotel that's not in that family of brands. So a good question. I don't know if it's an ethical question as much, because for me personally, my opinion is if they're staying at a hotel I own that data. But I have a feeling that others may not agree with that philosophy.
I'm on the same page as you, Glenn. Trust me. This is how I try to sell it to my ownership team.
Yeah.
However, when the guest signs up to receive promotional material, it's promotional material for that property. So then it gets into, okay, if we're sending them stuff from another property, is that okay? Or do we change the opt-in to receive information from Palm Holdings? And that way could be how we get around it. But it is on our roadmap for 2020.
Yeah.
And the reality also is that, for example, Glenn and Ryan, you guys know that when someone books on an OTA, you don't get the guest's email. That is something that operationally you're putting work on collecting the correct email at check-in. So, that's another interesting intersection of where on the technology side, that connection between your brand CRS and PMS, it's going to have the email that OTA brings. But are you able, and how could you apply the operational side of getting the real email and then having that be part of the profile that you own?
Well, it's funny. So all of our hotels do have an email capture goal or incentive that we set up. So not only email capture, but also mobile phone capture as well.
Yes.
Because we're getting into the text messaging space for the past 6 to 7 months, which has worked really well for us. Because again, how many unread emails do you have in your inbox compared to how many unread text messages do you have on your phone?
Right.
I think it's a ratio of 17,000 to 1 in my in my life.
Mine is just 5,000 to 1.
Yeah, because again, it is more work that we do put on the operations to make sure that we're able to get that guest proper contact information, so then we can retarget them to get them to book direct
properties.
With our property. Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%.
So it's going to be an interesting issue going forward as technology changes. And again, we have that discussion about who actually owns that information. I, for one, being that I got my legal degree from the School of Hard Knocks on the streets of Brooklyn, I would say that you can do it if you say Palm Holdings. But again, I don't know how legally binding that is. I would check with an actual attorney over at that one. But I do think that's an interesting way to do it. So in the future, how essential is creating strong loyalty to you guys and your ability to do business?
Loyalty for us is key. Your loyalty members, again, I mean, there's been numerous stats, studies, reports. Your loyalty guests will spend more, they'll stay with you longer, et cetera, et cetera. To me, loyalty members are your base business for any property. They're the ones that are coming week after week, time after time. They're your base business, and then you build on from that. If you don't have loyalty, your hotel is not going to succeed. Especially, again, we've got 2 hotels just outside of Disney in Florida. There are hundreds of IHG hotels all around us. So for us to make sure when a guest looks at IHG, they're like, oh, we're going to stay there because that hotel has a higher loyalty score. That's what we need to do as a company to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game.
Well, that's interesting. So you're not able to promote hotels that you own or operate that are part of other brands. But if you're under the banner of a particular company, whatever that parent company might be for the hotel brand that the flag is flying, you're competing against those other hotels that might be in the same market. That really makes things a little bit complicated for you. Are you able to have a bulletproof solution around that, or is it mostly just figuring it out every single day?
It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Right.
So again, like I said, going back to the Florida example, where there's hundreds of IHG hotels for that IHG reward member to choose from, and because all of our offers are pretty much the same because they're brand standardized, we have to think of a way that we're going to stand out against the competition. And the only way that we do that, one, is making sure that all of our technology is up to date. So the guests have the best Wi-Fi. They can access all their stuff through the app, that we're on board with everything that's going on within IHG. And two, it comes back to that customer service that our line staff is giving them to recognize them as a loyalty member. And hopefully it's going above and beyond what the competition is doing with the same brand.
Right.
I agree with Ryan. I think if you focus on loyalty and you get to know your loyal guests, it's the best way to learn how to position your property against your competition, whether they have your same flag or not, because you will have X amount of visitors and conversion typically is very small. So to understand how to cater to everyone that visits is very difficult. So if you start by understanding those loyal guests, regardless of what flag or no flag that you are flying, then you can tailor your offers and that guest experience, or ask for changes in the guest experience because you know your guest well. And the best way to know your guest is to understand why they're loyal to you.
I couldn't agree more. And I think one big area I know for us to improve is the property management systems. We have a great technology sitting in front of us that I don't feel we use to the maximum capacity. You can capture guests' birthdays in there, anniversaries, all that kind of fun stuff, which again, once we get that information, we can then use that to kind of sub-segmentize and send out even better offers to guests if we use that PMS technology to its full advantage.
Right. So it's really, I think we're at the point now where you can't put technology, operations, and customer service into different silos. They are all one and the same. And I think the message that all of you should take away from the conversation that we've been having together is, how can you get all of those different groups to work in concert with each other in a seamless kind of fashion? Because Ryan, everything you've been telling me, you are not going to be successful at your job unless you have amazing people on the property with a smile that deliver great customer service, set against the backdrop of great technologies that are available at that individual location, correct?
Oh, 100%. Like, as I remind all of my GMs, I work for them. Like, they're the ones running their own individual properties.
Right.
And if we don't have buy-in from down to that front desk agent who needs to understand why they need to capture that email or capture that mobile number, it has a ripple effect through the rest of the property and affects revenue. So we take a very hands-on approach when we're onboarding our front desk agents, our supervisors, etc., so that they know how their role fits into the overall picture.
Awesome. That I think really sums it up great. I don't think I can add anything else to that, but I know Estella can. And even if she can't now, I put her into a position where she has to think of something.
I have to.
Estella, how about a great final thought from you?
Well, just building into what Ryan is saying. Think of your loyalty platform as a flexible approach to recognize your best guest. Do not necessarily be constrained by what is technically possible based on what your brand is giving you, or because you are an independent, but decide what flexible approach you will have to reach that best guest think of it across context, and then go and see what tools you have that you can utilize. And like Ryan said, you might discover some underutilized tools that you can take advantage of. So having that operational plan for that business strategy and then applying the technology that is available for brands and for independents, it's a great start. But knowing your loyal guest is a great first step for knowing your guest in general.
Excellent. Ryan, how about a final thought from you and a good shameless plug for your company?
You know what? I just to what Estella said, like getting to know who your loyalty member is, I think it's the base foundation before you can start building, and making sure that you're using every bit of open technology that is either provided by your company like Palm Holdings, giving them revenue management services, or by what we're getting from the brand in way of marketing services or additional stuff that we can do. And again, it's facilitating that culture of revenue management into right down to that line employee to understand how their role overall affects the company. And it's something as simple as catching a guest email a check-in.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I love what you said. Use those brand tools. The owners of the hotels are spending a lot of money in order to connect better with the customer, right? So use those tools, those productivity things that they are giving to you. They spent a lot of money at the brand level to go ahead and create all of this for you. So be sure you're up to speed on all of those things. Plus, they offer a lot of educational packages as well that'll help get you and your team more aligned with stuff. So just remember, guys, everything's all right. So just hold tight. If the technology isn't there, it will be coming soon. And it's up to you guys to go out there, create great customer experiences, utilize that technology, and you're going to get them coming back time and time again. I want to thank you all for listening today. And you can find this show recording and all past shows on SHR's website. And of course, that's at shr.global and on novacancynews.com. And of course, if you want to just get all of our podcasts here, just subscribe to our feed at No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere else that you get your podcast, or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Just text the word hotel to 66866 and you'll get this show and every other show delivered right to you in those email boxes. See, I'm already learning from Ryan. I got to get your emails. And you guys gotta be involved here. All right. So for Estella, Ryan, and myself, Glenn, I want to thank you guys for listening. And just remember, you've got one life. Blaze on.